Well, good evening, Bethany family. As you can see, you know what time it is. You know what day it is. It is time for the
Yeah.
recap. I'm going to need Deacon Antoine to come up with these intros, like the music and stuff. I think like we all need to have our own like a little intro. I would like that. Like, how TV shows have their intros. But since we don't have our intros, what I will do is I will introduce this amazing panel that we have up here
You
right
going to sing it, Kev,
no,
as the intro?
ma'am, I don't think I'm gonna sing. I think I'm good. I think I'm gonna leave that to you and Deacon Antoine. For those that don't know that Maya
Mm,
sings.
no. That's not how this is supposed to go.
So as you guys know, we do have Sister Maya up here. She is our social media director. She is a guru. She keeps everything intact, keeps us intact as well when we film. So we appreciate her. And down below, we have the good Reverend Wisdom, not Reverend Rich, but Reverend Wisdom down there. He always coming and dropping the nuggets. And we love that. We love that from him. And we also have Sister Des, who will be joining us shortly. And if you guys do not know who I am Brother Kevin, and we are the Recap family. And as you guys are coming on in and letting us know where you're tuning in from, make sure that you are liking, commenting, and sharing. If Deacon Antoine was here, he would say, get those prophetic. What he said? Yeah,
Evangelistic
yeah.
thumbs.
I always forget what he says. I know he's something thumbs.
Mhm.
But I know he always says how important it is to get in the comments and making sure that you're welcoming someone there, especially those that are joining us for the first time. So if this is your first time joining us, we want you to put a VIP in the comments so we can show you a whole lot of Bethany love. Trust and believe that we were in service in person. If that was your first time visiting us, we will show you a whole lot of love. Make sure you got some special seating, get to meet the leadership team and everything. So we want to do that with you guys virtually. So make sure that you put the VIP in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. I see Keith.
We have a VIP.
And we have a VIP. Hello, Miss
April.
April Brown. I'm so happy that you were able to join us for the first time for the recap. And, since this is your first time, let me break down to you what the recap basically is. We like to take this moment to just fellowship with you on this Monday evening to recap Sunday service. We will usually do this in service, after service, talking about what's going on and everything. So we do that here on Mondays at 5:30. So Sister April, please let us know where you're tuning. Oh, you did. You tuning in from Georgia. Okay,
Nice.
down there. Well, thank you for tuning in with us. And if you have not already watched service from yesterday, please make sure that you stay tuned to throughout the week so you can watch it as well as get this discussion. I see you, Sister Maribel Roman, Miss Roman in the building. Happy Monday to you as well. I just love when we have people come in and they just fellowship with us in the comments. It's just another
Yeah.
way of staying connected, right? I know it makes you so happy, Maya.
No, it really does. Like, we think because, of course, we are, in a pandemic that we're not able to stay connected, but this is the perfect way to still have that connection with our Bethany family, have that moment of fellowship, and it almost feels like we're almost doing it in person. So it's
Yeah.
always great to see everyone. And so glad that April's joining us for the first time.
Yeah, most definitely. So we are just so thankful for, this platform, this time, this day, but especially we are very thankful for our church as we celebrated our 54th anniversary this past Sunday. 54 years of just
Mhm.
transforming lives one at a time. The church that never sleeps. What an amazing celebration we had yesterday, starting with Engage Live with myself, Sister Maya, Antoine, as we went and visit the old
Yeah.
stomping grounds of Bethany. I got some history lessons from Sister Maya and Brother Antoine, as Deacon Antoine, excuse me, as we traveled to different locations. I didn't know that it started like in a living room of a house, and then they walked to the church in I can't think of the word.
And Summerdale?
Yeah, Summerdale. Thank you. In
Mhm.
Summerdale. Then we're in like I didn't know all that, so I learned a lot for myself by doing that little history.
Sister Maya and Deacon Antoine, they weren't born back then. So they must have gone and did some research because they
Oh, they
wasn't
did their
born. They wasn't born, y'all. But well done, well done. Thanks for educating Ted.
I was there for the second half.
they gave me the part that they were born, that they
Yeah,
do
I got
remember.
you. Okay, I got you. But all in all, still a very young church, and have saved and transformed a lot of lives. Actually, the church didn't save the people; the Lord saved the people. But
Yes,
it was a vehicle through which many people have been
Yeah.
saved, and certainly has transformed many lives and helped a lot of folks over the years. So we just thank God for the way He's used Bethany over the years.
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. We are so grateful for that. So, we also sowed our first fruit for the church anniversary, and you still have time to do that by giving on any of our platforms, especially Giveify. Just sowing into the ministry is such an important thing. Just so we can celebrate 54 more years and
Yeah.
more years after that, because the ministry is so strong and it's so
Hmm.
good. And we can talk about it all day long, but if you want to feel connected to it and you want a deeper connection, I encourage you guys to please join the Connections Church. That is basically the church online on a virtual platform. And as you can see, we have my partner in crime, Sister.
Hi, everyone.
There's my Hey Des.
So it's really a party now because Sister Des is here. But no, we did celebrate our 54th anniversary. And with that, Bishop continued in his Heaven on Earth series, Kingdom Faith, Heaven on Earth, and entitled this sermon, The Place for Miracles, right?
Hmm.
So he came out of the book of Isaiah, chapter 35, verse 3, and he stated that Isaiah, looking forward with this prophetic accuracy that he is known for, begins to talk to us about recovery, restoration, renewal, revival, transformation of your circumstances and your situations. His focus is on the people of God, Zion, the church. His focus is on the kingdom and what the kingdom promises to the believer. We find now that in the kingdom is recovery and restoration. God promises through his word that there is a new day coming to you, and that new day is not something you're waiting for, but it really requires a revelation of God's church and what God's church means to him, which will tell us what it should mean to us. So, coming off of this anniversary, watching yesterday, just the flashbacks, and just seeing how the old church was, and just seeing the congregation there and just celebrate it. Just I was just filled up with so many emotions because we have been locked out of the sanctuary for some time, and I know so many of us are missing that. But even before the pandemic, I just feel like in today's society, the image of the church has changed. I was just recently on TikTok last night, and I was just seeing how some old school choirs, how how the church, especially the smaller church, how you would just be in church and everything. And it just really made me think of like how our society today, how there's so many different external factors that are playing a role in the image of the church. So let me ask you, in today's society, what do you believe has changed when it comes to the image of the church and looking at it as the house of God and not just a building? The floor is yours.
Ask it one more time.
So, in today's society, what do you believe has changed when it comes to the image of the church and looking at it as the house of God and not just a building? And
Yeah.
also, anybody in the comments, if you would like to answer or have any questions or any perspectives, please put them in the comments as well so we can highlight them. But go ahead,
You're
Sister Deb. I'm sorry.
asking you're asking how society looks at the church as just a
Yeah,
building versus us looking at it as the
right.
house?
Because we learned in this
Okay,
week's sermon that,
got you.
it's just not a building. It When we
Right.
look at it as an opportunity to go to a different dimension every time that we encounter the church, that is just not a building, is the house of God. It's the kingdom here on earth. So how do you feel like the society has played a role in changing that image? Because you have some people that be like, I don't need to go to church. I'm good. I got Jesus right here.
Mhm.
Right. So how do you think that played a part in it?
I
Well,
kind of. Oh, you go. You go. You
go
go.
go ahead, Maya. Go ahead,
You got it.
Maya.
You got it.
I don't know if I have it, but since we've been talking about history
Mhm.
of Bethany, The church has gone through a transformation, or is still transforming
Mhm.
Mhm.
in the present day.
Yeah.
For the longest time, the church was the vehicle not only for coming to understand what God is doing, will do, and has done, but
Mhm.
it was also a vehicle for particularly the Black church, for understanding what's going on from a political and social economic standpoint, right? Um, and that is still the present day, but not as much, not
Mhm.
as much. And because we live in this microwave society, as you said earlier, Kev, folks feel that they can do things without the church. That being said, that being said, if you look pre pre 2020, there had been a shift. Not as many people were members of a church as they had been prior to.
Mhm.
Post pandemic, we've seen a lot of people come back
Yeah.
to needing a spiritual foothold into something that's bigger than them, because they've really seen something that there's no control over, and they had no control over, and they had
Mhm.
no control over what it was going to do to their families, what it was going to do to their jobs, what it was going to do to their finances, and they were looking for something to provide a sense of peace. It'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how many people actually go back into the building, but
Mhm.
certainly there's been a awakening, so
Mhm.
to speak, of
Mhm.
a need that can only be fulfilled by a higher power. And in our case, that higher power serves to be God through Jesus Christ, right? And I think that's what the pandemic has
Yeah.
done. Um,
That's what I was thinking too. I think like the pandemic kind of put everyone on a even field of like needing church. It's not about who I am or society, how much money I have, because the pandemic for people across all those different social economic
Mhm.
barriers that we tend to have within church, right?
Yes.
So I definitely think that with that understanding, hopefully, like you said, Rev, more people will flock to the church once the doors reopen. But yeah, like all of what you just said, I co-sign. That was good.
but we have to be ready. And Des, I'm just going to say this real quick, and
No, go
please
ahead.
go. We have to be ready that when the doors reopen,
Hmm.
that which is going to come in is probably going to look a lot different than that which we were, right?
Yeah.
And our job is to make sure that we love everybody that comes in. That's
Mhm.
all God asks us to do. He'll
That's
take
good.
care of the rest. We just got to
That's
love
good.
on the people. They may
That's
not look
good.
like us, be like us, have the same interests in us, but they coming to the same thing that we're coming to. That's to receive from the Lord.
That's
And
good.
our job is just to love them all, love them up
That's
when they
good.
get in,
That's
when they
good.
come
I
in.
like
Yeah.
that. I
Go
like
ahead, Dad. Sorry.
No, you're good. Don't apologize, please. What I was thinking is right along those lines, but I was thinking more of like how people tend to think that church is old school, like the physical church is old school, and how now post, COVID, well, still in the pandemic, but like in the aftermath of it, really, um, we have all of this digitized ministry,
Mhm.
whereas we are able to pull in folks who wouldn't come into the physical building
Right.
for whatever reason because of, they weren't getting the music or whatever it was that was keeping them out of the church, or it was too long or whatever it was, now have access to the church building in
Mhm.
a way that wasn't available before, because
Yes.
prior to the pandemic we were streaming services or you could buy the DVD or whatever, but it wasn't
Mhm.
to this magnitude where literally everything is accessible that would physically be accessible in the church building. So the
Yes.
church is literally like moved online, like you have the Connections Church, you have the ministries, you have what we do is
Mhm.
not, and the new innovations, like this wasn't a thing. We had Bethany News before, but we didn't have this, there was no moment like this before. So um I think that even though I think that this was a blessing in disguise, for
Mhm.
many of many ways. I think that there has been a lot of there have been a lot of valleys in this moment and in this season, but I think that there are more mountains that we've seen and more mountains to come.
Mm.
And Bishop said something in the message that, like, if you're not seeing, if you're not going through something, God's not moving you in that kind of, I forget exactly his wording, but in that kind of way, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking. Go ahead, because now I'm just gonna.
No, that's good. That's good. So the understanding of the kingdom is that God has placed a blessing on your life. He has attached something that cannot be detached from the life of a believer. He has given you this spiritual empowerment, and blessing is not just a state of being, because blessing is an empowerment. God never gives us a commandment to fail. He gives us a commandment because he has enabled you or given you the ability to do what he has just pronounced in your life. So, as the church of God and the people of God, we must exercise our kingdom mandate. Your creativity springs from the image and likeness of God, and this empowerment called the blessing. So, we learn that we must exercise our kingdom mandate and understand that God has placed the blessing on our lives. In the same token, the child of God has to be careful not to get distracted by who he or she thinks doesn't like them, because it can take you way off, which makes you waste good thinking time about people that can't have a consequence in your life. So do you believe that some have been too invested in who doesn't like them instead of exercising their kingdom mandate? That's what you say. That's
I said, "Woo, child." That's the question right there.
because it wasn't this past engaged, but last engaged, Bishop and Pastor Nick talked about that. Even in Bible study, they talked about, watching how you treat others and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and also being invested in, um, you know, into who doesn't like you, or you have these haters and stuff like that, instead
Yeah.
of actually your growth in Christ. So, do you believe that some have been too invested in who doesn't like them instead of exercising their kingdom mandate?
Mhm. I think so. I think we seek validation, from people or family, whatever,
Hmm.
and we lose focus in having that relationship with God because we're too busy trying to seek it
Hmm.
from somewhere else or somewhere it might be a little bit more present or it's more
Right.
immediate.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's definitely easy to get sidetracked in that way.
Right. Right. Sister Des?
If I, I'm gonna talk about myself, not talk about y'all. If I got out of my head, I would be a millionaire right now. I would be doing exactly what it is that I know I was
Mhm.
put on this planet to be doing. I
Mhm.
would not second guess myself when opportunities arise. I would, like, if I just got out of my own way, stop listening to the voice that's not even my voice, that the voice of other people have their own fears,
Mhm.
or those type of, if I just wish those away, like, then,
I love the
life
sound
would be
effects.
life would, and that is something that I feel like, um so I recently purchased a book, and the reason I purchased the book, I don't want to, like, shamelessly plug anybody, because
Mhm.
you know but I recently purchased a book, and I was just like flipping through it, and I wasn't gonna get it, but it landed on a page, and it was like big bold letters, like one of the little blurps or whatever, and it was just like, your angels are bored to death waiting for you to follow your dreams. And I was like, oh, walking to the
Mhm.
cash register, like, because
Right.
but that's the truth. Like,
Yeah.
get out of your way, stop allowing people to stop, like, to dim your light.
Mhm.
And I'm talking to myself, not y'all,
Mhm.
so yeah, if we just got out of our way and stop worrying about who could potentially be a hater of whatever, like, that's just, and I think a lot of times we get in our own head and create haters
Yeah.
too, like,
To make us feel like
because honestly, people are not really worried about you the
they're
way
not worried
you
about.
think that they're worried about you, like, so yeah. Yeah, it's a work in progress, but I think that because I think the grace is, God knows that we're gonna fall in that way. God knows that we're gonna be more concerned about what human thought is, because we're we're on the same level as other humans, and we're not bringing our minds to elevate to his level. So it's like, God, I don't know how I see this, or how are you going to do this amazing outlandish thing for me, and I'm only seeing myself at the level that someone else has seen me, or that level that I've seen myself, which is not even nearly as far as high as God wants me to go if I just move.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're all human, right? So we have feelings and emotions, and the whole word "sticks and stones may break my bone, but words will never hurt." Remember, words hurt, words
word
matter,
hurt.
and words hurt, right? So
Mhm.
we're not negating that fact, but two of the closest people um that I've had in my life were the type of people that really didn't care what nobody thought about them. They
Mhm.
just didn't care.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to curse and say they didn't give up. They just didn't. And that wasn't always me, but the Bible's very clear. You got to be careful when everybody speaks highly of you. If everybody speaks highly of you, you're not doing something right. So
Mhm.
you're supposed to have some haters. It's okay. So I embrace the haters now,
Right.
because that
You're a
means,
villain
okay,
in
cool.
somebody's story.
You got to have some haters,
Mhm.
and you can't, as Des said, you worried about you spending brain space on somebody that's not even thinking about you.
Yeah.
That's wasteful.
Mm-hmm.
That's just wasteful.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
be careful when everybody speaks highly of you. You got to have some haters. It's all right.
Yep.
I heard this thing is like you're the villain in somebody's story. So like as nice as you are, or as whatever, there's somebody who's just like, yeah, because I saw them one time in ShopRite and I was not into it. You know what I mean? So like but this is the truth.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
like that. So when God puts
Yeah.
you in a
That's
wilderness,
one more thing.
yeah, of course.
I feel like the things that aren't true or aren't things that you need to work on, they don't bother you because you know better. And it's maybe because you see that there is some room for growth, that it
Mhm.
hurts, for lack of better words, a little bit more. So maybe we need to have a shift in perspective, whereas instead of taking criticism as something negative, but taking it as something, okay, maybe this is something I can do differently. Or, not. But
Mhm.
it doesn't always have to be a bad thing.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Keep going. So when God puts you in the wilderness, it is because you have gained the strength from your captivity to exercise dominance in the wilderness, and then God will supplement your existence in that season with the miraculous. Whenever we find ourselves in a wilderness type of season, we need to begin to praise the Lord because He will make a way in the wilderness. Your experiences are merely transitional and transformational because they are about renewal, the revival of your strength and the strength of your faith and your relationship with God. So Bishop stated that he feels that people are clinging onto the phrase, God's getting ready, and that's an incomplete
Mhm.
revelation. This is because everything God intends to do is already done, and what we have to do is learn how to step into that dimension of completed things, and that God speaks in completed things. What are your thoughts about this? Because we always hear that he's getting ready, but it's already done. So what are your thoughts about? Because when Bishop said, I'm like it makes
Yeah.
sense, right? So what are your thoughts about that? About that God's getting ready being an incomplete revelation. I love when you guys think.
What if it's like not like, because we think, oh, God's preparing, but He's already prepared, right? What if God's getting ready for us to move? Like, I'm just waiting for you again, like what if it's that thing?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Absolutely. So, because I think we tend to always put the work on God when
Yeah.
God already did his part. So like now it's like for us, it's like, all right, now he's actually like looking to us like, yeah, I did. Like it's like you're meeting him somewhere to drop off something. Like, when you meet
Mm-hmm.
somebody and it's like he's already at the meetup point. Like, I'm here. I'm just waiting for you. Like, what's your ETA? Like, What's your GPS? What's your GPS say? How long is it going to take you to get here? Right?
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to start sharing our ETA with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Sister Mai, Rev
Rev
Rich?
Kev.
Oh no.
That's what I'm saying.
Amen.
Shut it down.
But
That's
no, I
good.
just love that statement because you never, and that's why I love Bishop, because you never think of things like that, because you always hear that in songs, and he's getting ready, but he's already done it, right?
Well, God don't have to get ready, right? What's
Mm-hmm.
God get ready for? What has God ever gotten ready for?
Mm-hmm.
He's never gotten ready. He's just ready.
Right.
He just is. That's why he says, I am that I am. Um, in my personal life, I think it's been times when God's always ready,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe I haven't learned the lesson yet.
Mm,
Maybe I haven't finished the process yet.
yeah.
Maybe I haven't embraced the learnings yet. So that you have to, we hear this all the time. You have to go through to get to. So while we're saying, hurry up, God, come on, stop by here, remember me, even me, Lord. Um, we just have to know that we gotta be able to take the time to figure out what it is, not necessarily figure it out, but know that there are things we have to do in order to be ready. So when it comes, we don't mess it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is so important, because that is when you do that self-assessment, like, you know, I'm going through this maybe because, like you said, Rev, like, I didn't learn the lesson correctly, or I need to continue to learn. Like, that takes a lot out of a person to actually say that and admit that, instead of going forward being not properly taught or not
Mhm.
understanding, what God is trying to say to you, right? Sister Maya, would you like to add? Are you?
No, my mind is blown on that one too. Because it's so true. Like I feel like we say those things because it makes us feel better. Oh, that God's gonna do it. He's getting ready, whatever else. But it's already done. So we need to make sure that we take that ownership to make sure that we're in line, that we have our kingdom mindset to do or to get to the place that God has already prepared for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So God has chosen his church as evidence of his divine kingdom and chosen it to be the place where miracles happen. The Bible lets us know that we have to think of ourselves in revelatory ways, understanding first that the house of God is the house of God, which is a spiritual place where miracles, restoration, your revival, and your healing will occur. If you have the revelation that God's house is his house and his house is impacted by his will, his word, and his spirit, and you begin to understand that you are not only going to a building, but you are going to the house of God. You are not going to a place, but you are going to a dimension in the spirit. You are going to a place where the word of God describes it as the house where God dwells. In the same sense, you understand that where he is, his son is as well. Following that, where his son is, his spirit is, and where his spirit is where his kingdom is. So Bishop believes that part of the African American worship has been because we have been oppressed in the past, and it can legitimize some generationally transmitted feelings of oppression. What are your thoughts about this? Guys, is this I see you. Because for me, last week when we were talking about how we have that, sometimes some Christians have that mindset of just being oppressed all the time, or just have that negative mindset, especially when it works up their worship, right? We talked about them always worshiping when someone's going through a negative thing, but when someone gets a promotion or something, we never glorify that, right? So when Bishop said the African American worship in particular, I kind of, for me, it made me look at certain worship songs differently, because you tend to hear a lot of worship songs where they may be incorrect, or they may just come from a place where we are always in a negative mood and we need some uplifting. Right? So you understand where I'm coming from? So what are
Yes.
your thoughts about that? About, that there being some generationally transmitted feelings of oppression that seep into our worship.
I think that is so true because, like, and you just helped me out just now when you mentioned music, because when you do think about, like, I don't know why the first thing that came to my mind was like a Shirley Caesar song, like "When I Get to Heaven,"
Mhm.
um, but like that. What did she say? She's like, I'm not gonna live in hell and then die and go to hell. That's what she said. I mean, yeah. So she's like, well, I'm gonna go to heaven, right?
Mhm.
So life is so crazy here on earth because back then, I mean, we still are an oppressed people, but back then it was far worse.
Mhm.
So to escape that, I'm thinking of there has to be better than this. The glory is going to be so much better than all the trauma and struggle and everything that I'm going through now. And it makes sense that we haven't been able to mentally get past that,
Mhm.
and why we can't find joy in right now and in like heaven, literally the sermon heaven on earth right now, because it's like that's something that mentally we've never been able to have for ourselves,
Mhm.
because we've always been in survival, we've always been in struggle, we've always been in, we have to make it to the next day, and if I don't make it to the next day, I know heaven is waiting for me.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're getting to the point as folks of color where we can have joy and life and love and all of that right here, but it's like, okay, am I allowed to have this now?
Mhm.
And it's, I don't know, it's very interesting. When you said music, that's what kind of made my wheels start turning a little bit
Yeah.
more. Um, and then it's like that whole thing of going back to God's getting ready. It's like, well, God always had this for us. This joy has always been here, but it didn't seem as accessible before,
Yeah.
because we were dealing with the physical, mental, wow, that's a word, mental struggles
Take your
of
time.
what was going on,
Yeah,
and those things, there's still some layers of those things that exist today, you know.
absolutely.
Um, but I think that we have something, we have the opportunity right now, people who are living right now, we have the opportunity to live for those who didn't have that
Mhm.
chance. We can bring joy into this.
Yeah,
We can have what is like what God really wants for us to have, his people to have, you
yeah.
know. So yeah.
Beautiful, beautifully said.
Mm.
Rev Reg, Sister Maya, would you like to add to that?
I thought it was well said by Sister Des.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I feel like that's an argument that can be made on a larger scale than,
Yeah.
you know, gospel music, you
Oh,
know.
most definitely, most definitely. Because Bishop and Pastor Nick always say about like certain sermons that they teach you as much as don't get as much attention as the other ones where
Mhm.
we may be talking about the haters and stuff like that, where everybody's hooping and hollering, but when it's talk about healing and then all, so that's why
And tithing.
and
Mhm.
tithing and giving your time. And so this is why we have the dynamic duo for certain things like that, so they can discuss it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you have the revelation of your connection with God's house, and you begin to understand that you are not just going to church, but you are going to the house of God, you realize that it is your Eden in the midst of all this confusion out here. This is the place where miracles happen for us. So guys, this was just a little piece. Doesn't, yeah. Just a little piece of what we were taught and fed on Sunday for our 54th anniversary sermon. Something that I also want to point out is that on yesterday's service, I meant to mention this in the beginning that Reverend Mobley has said in the announcement that she had a challenge for everyone that's watching this. And the challenge was, how are you going to do something differently in this week? So I challenge you throughout this week, something that you may have done that you do all the time. I challenge you to do something different this week. So it may be calling someone and telling them, hey, we have Word Impact on Wednesday, or it may be going back and watching the encounter and having your own recap, right? So we
Yeah.
challenge you, especially on any of our platforms, whether it's Word Impact on Wednesday, Engage Live on Sunday, we challenge you to try to do something different that you didn't do before, and also welcome someone to Christ, right? That may not know it, right? So,
Mhm.
with that being said, we have so much to tune into throughout this week. So later tonight, we have the Encounter Drive-In Experience at 7 p.m. We are taught on Sunday as well as Wednesday and on Saturday. So you don't have the chance to come meet us on Saturdays. You have the drive-in experience coming up for you tonight at 7 p.m. Um, Also on Tuesday, we had the Real Men Talk. So all my brothers, I need you to come out. Men's Safe House Ministry at 7 p.m. They have a discussion. Each and every ministry does an amazing job each Tuesday. So this week is the Men's Safe House Ministry. So we will invite you guys, even our female congregation, you guys can come out and join us at 7 p.m. as well. And then on Wednesday, as I mentioned before, we had the Word Impact Gathering at 7 p.m. It felt like old times with Pastor Nick up there teaching last week.
Mhm.
It was so funny because part of the service, he was like, it's kind of quiet in here, but no, it really was quiet, but it was actually loud in those comments. He was on fire last Wednesday. So I'm excited to see what they have in store for us this Word Impact Gathering at 7 p.m. And then going into our weekend, we have the On Point Radio at 9 a.m. with Bishop and Pastor Nick. We have the drive-in service, weather permitted, at 11:30 a.m. Where we're gonna do, Maya? Hoop for Jesus.
Hoop, hoop, hoop.
And then we have Emergent Worship later that evening at 6 p.m. And then we go into our Sunday, where you know that we stream all day long. We have Engage Live starting at 7:50, right before 8 o'clock service, and 9:45 with that discussion with Bishop and Pastor Nick. And then we have our encounter services for 8 and 11 o'clock. And then later in the evening, 10 Times Better Women series starting at 5:30 p.m. with the pre and a post discussion following the broadcast. And then we're back here on Monday for Maximize Monday with Pastor Nick and Sister Mai. And then we're back for another recap next Monday at 5:30. And
Mhm.
you guys do an amazing
Well,
job always. Go ahead.
before we go, can I just mention something else? Because
Mhm.
we are in our last week of October,
Woo!
which means November is right around the corner,
Yes, it is.
which means that it's time for Catch the Fire.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we want to start letting everyone know now
Mhm.
to jump on board and catch the fire with us. It's something we do every year, particularly during this time. It's our Thanksgiving turkey giveaway.
Mhm.
So we are accepting any donations that you can give. We're asking for $35. That will feed like a family of 5.
Mhm.
Um, Prices have gone up, so the more help we can get, the more people we can help bless in the community. So, Vanessa, I see your question. What is Catch the Fire? It
Yes.
is
Mm.
our, how do I explain
It's
it?
our,
So many
it's our
great
initiative.
things,
Yeah, it's our
yeah,
It's
initiative
yeah.
where
that we
we
do
give
through
back.
that we do throughout the entire year. Like I
Mhm.
mentioned, coming up is for Thanksgiving. We do
Mhm.
another one in December for toys for Christmas for the
Yes.
kids, and then in the summer we do our back to school drive,
Yes.
and all those elements come together to create Catch the Fire.
Yes.
And it really is a great way to one not only give and show God's love to people, but to come together as a community to help be a blessing. You know, that's
Mhm.
what we're called to do as
Yes, most
children of
definitely.
God. So,
And it's still rough out there, so people
yeah.
need our help
Yeah.
more than
Absolutely.
we know, more than last year, more than the year before.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We really need you all, and you'll be a blessing to somebody.
Yeah,
And
the
you know,
need is
whatever you can give, if you can't even give the 35, but
Yeah.
whatever you can give, it's
yeah,
going to be
And
a
if
big help for what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
and if you
absolutely.
need help
Hmm.
too, if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out and
Yeah.
Don't be
um,
shame. Ain't no
yeah.
shame. There's no
Nope.
No
shame.
shame. Listen, we all been there before.
Come get this turkey. Like come get the
So
turkey.
Vanessa, we encourage you to please stay tuned to all of our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
or YouTube, for any information that will be coming out in the
Yep.
upcoming weeks. So yes,
And
go
if
ahead.
you want to, you can start giving now.
Hmm.
You can go to bethany.com/giving. And you'll see the option there to sew into Catch the Fire.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. We love Catch the Fire. I'm excited, seeing people, gather the food and everything. It's just
Mhm.
that feeling of seeing someone have a great Thanksgiving because you gave your time, you gave, money, you get, just to contribute to that. It's such a beautiful thing. So help us catch the fire this year as we continue out the rest of this last quarter.
Right.
All right.
Amen.
Bethany family,
Amen.
love you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Those that are going to tune in later, please make sure that you like, comment, and share, and join us next week as well. We love you, Bethany family, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the comments virtually throughout this week. Be blessed.